right? Is it where Blackbeard is at, that is the Jolly Roger? Or is it that wherever the Jolly Roger is where it is? And so that's the whole thing, right? Home is where the heart is. And where is home? Where is the heart? They're not really in the same place, but are they? Welcome to the Prisca Theologian channel. My name is Kamasi Rahim, and today we will be looking at 4 of the hardest unsolved problems in philosophy. I have not looked at these yet, so I do not know what we're in for at all. We're just gonna see what we've got. These are provided by bigthink.com. This is not a sponsored at all video. I just do certainly believe in giving credit where it is due. So we have the hard problem of consciousness first. If you have seen the videos on this channel, we go through that a lot. We talk very, very much so about consciousness epistemologically, metaphysically, as well as the ethical mapping of the lattice and the Kabbalistic way in which the all permeates, the divine permeates every fiber of the lattice in the way that we permeate every fiber of our dreams. That's a quick sum up of that, really quickly. And it looks like they're speaking about apparent consciousness within other beings and objects as well. And so, again, with the idea of the dream, all things are the same substratum in their essence, and so they experience what they experience relative to their function, because in the same way that when we take a picture, we have to watch how exposed the image is, because if it's overexposed, we can't see anything. So we have to dial it back in order for forms to be made evident, in order for apparent change to occur. The light had to be drawn back. And so all things are the same substratum. All things are consciousness. It is just that the way that some of us can express it, some of us can experience it, it is from the perspective of a spectator, and that is the divine. That is our essence. It's the divine spectating the divine's dream. You know, we spectate our own dreams all the time. I think the concern is just that we're a little more, there's a difference in uniqueness with seeing someone else in our dream versus seeing someone else here, due to the layers of various exposing, pulling back of exposure through different filters of layers. It changes the way in which it changes the nature, rather, of the senses that you should be using to interact with the object. So in your dream space, the object is of your dream substratum, and so it is more representative of you than it is representative of the other person. However, in real person, in person, with that actual object, there is still that filter of subjectivity, that their objectiveness through their own subjective lens comes through, that is arguably more objective than your dream them. And so you have to treat these things differently. Your dream them, naturally, if you can go lucid, if you can go astral and work with your dreams in that way, That's something. However, with people, you certainly have to figure out how to work with them in a way that's analogous to how you would like to be worked with, but in their unique way. So that's right, because that's the whole thing with wisdom and knowledge. It's about knowing that balance of when something, where something is unique and where something is analogous. And what is the best way to respect both of its aspects, of both ways that you understand it, in the ways that it is analogous and in the ways that it is unique. And that's on consciousness and apparently conscious lacking beings. At the core of everything, it is vibration. We are just a different amalgamation of vibrations than, say, a chair is. And so for that reason, we are capable of expressing different functions, just like the electrons express a different function from protons and neutrons, but they are made up of similar things. It is just that. It's sure, we can argue that a human to a chair is less analogous than protons to neutrons, but at the core of it, those things make us up. So it's gonna be analogous and it's gonna be unique. Why is there something rather than nothing? This is, of course, something that I certainly ponder a lot. And I feel like I come to terms with it pretty often, but it does beg the question. However, I think that even in that, what I just said is kind of it. It, begs the question. It's like, what do you mean nothing? So there's something, So it's nothing begs the question of something. It tells you that something has to be. So why is there something rather than nothing? It may even be the improper way of articulating the cognitive bias-inducing phenomena that we experience when we try to ponder what nothing might even mean. Something and nothing are together. It's sun and moon. So nothing was always going to have something, and something was always going to have nothing. And for that reason, that is answered in that way. However, I suppose in the way that people may be looking for this to drive an ultimate function, if people are looking for a function, take responsibility. Take responsibility for the cosmos, for the cosmochronological timeline, and you will most certainly have your function. The ship of Theseus. If a ship over the years has had every piece of it replaced, is it still the same ship? Would the Jolly Roger still be the Jolly Roger without Blackbeard? Right? Is it where Blackbeard is at that is the Jolly Roger? Or is it that wherever the Jolly Roger is where it is? And so that's the whole thing, right? Home is where the heart is. And where is home? Where is the heart? They're not really in the same place, but are they? And all of that is assuming that the ship is called the Jolly Roger and not just the flag symbol. I brought it up when my professor in philosophy brought up the Rene Descartes thought experiment, the wax experiment. It basically tackles whatever function it is that allows us to be aware and conscious of the fact that H2O is H2O, whether it is in liquid form, ice form, or vapor. Same thing with us. Before us, there's an idea, right? Before me, there was an idea of my parents' child. It wasn't even concrete that it would be a son. Just an idea of my parents' child. Now I'm here. And now there's a concrete understanding of one of the ways that that idea could manifest, because there's also my little brother. So there's another concrete idea of one of the ways that that idea could manifest, the idea of my parents' son. They also did have a daughter, so the idea of my parents' child also expressed as a female. And so after I pass, the idea will still be a thing. It will still be, oh, the child of my mom's name, my dad's name. People will look, people will find someone, and they'll have a more concrete idea of what that actually was in a manifestation. That's the core understanding of like ideas and forms. Look into Plato. All right, here we have the demarcation problem. The question of how to distinguish science from non-science. Is that what the question is there? Well, all science is philosophy at the core of it, historically, as far as where it comes from actually, but also then if you just look at the way that science functions. Science and philosophy both use strategic, logical, deductive, and inductive reasoning depending on the nature of the experiment and toward what ends, right? Because it's the ends that not justify the means, as in it's okay that we did this because it ended up all right. No, the ends justify the means that our goal should determine what we're doing to get there and how we're getting there. So if I want to try and create a space that is a good balance of utilitarianism and deontology, the best way to go about figuring out where that line sits along the spectrum of duty and pleasure takes experimenting. And this is a scientific process. In order to come to any of the conclusions that a philosopher comes to, they must use deductive or inductive reasoning. But this is a scientific experiment. These are scientific thought processes that are being used. And there are subjects that immediately overlap these things. There are math logic classes. You know, there's a reason that physicists are also often philosophers, because in order to think about that which apparently nobody else has already, you must be able to think outside of the box, which may include knowing a little bit about what's inside the box already. Science and mathematics, they're full of generalizations that are based off of initially deduced observations, very anciently deduced observations that eventually were tested out. We got instruments in order to test certain things out. That's all these instruments do. They let us know what's going on. They let us see or experience, perceive that which otherwise we just hadn't in that way. And that is maybe the difference in them calling spirits or some new quantum phrase, is that they now can measure that which they initially only had a draw to finding through aesthetics. To that end, there is a world that is clearly some in level of objective enough that we respect it to correct course when it comes to the subjective in many ways, whether that's just going outside and dealing with people and not picking your nose in front of them. I'll say I personally don't even with a tissue pick my nose in front of people, because it is just what I grew up like. But that's not everyone. That's just that example is what I'm saying. There's different things that people do and don't do, but that's the idea here. We present, and this is not new, this is all through psychology, we present to the world. And in that presentation, we essentially look for enjoyable encounters. And so it is to those ends that anything that we do matters. It is to the ends that when I go outside, I'm gonna be faced with people that that are not part of me, that are not a part of my head like this, in the way that I just am this. And so how do we enjoy each other? Because it's not a doomed thing either that I'm gonna go outside and see other people. So that's what I have with the demarcation problem. I have utility, right? We have our subjectivity, but then we've got the objectivity. And for whatever it is, however we take it in, whatever it is, there's stuff that we can do that will either make our experience of it more or less favorable. And so what do we do with that? Oh, that's it? Wow. Those are not hard problems. I'm gonna scan through this Wikipedia one really quickly. That was fun though. What do we have? All right, epistemology. Whoa, what do we got? Get your problem.